Welcome to Lockbox, a podcast providing real estate professionals with action items for success. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm going to be your host. I'm the founder of two real estate marketing and tech companies, STEEZY.Digital and realnurture.io. In this podcast, you'll learn from top 1% real estate and mortgage brokers the exact secrets to their success. Welcome to Lockbox. Welcome to Lockbox. My name is Jeffrey Brogger, and I'm here with Mark Siwiec. Mark, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you kick it off? Tell our listeners who you are and where you're from.
I'm from Rochester, New York. I've been selling real estate for 30 some years, enjoying it immensely. It wasn't the career that I really thought I was going to, but it turned out to be a real boom for me. So I've got a team of 11 people. We are very close knit. I think it's one of the reasons for our success, and enjoy going to work each and every day.
Awesome. And what got you into the real estate industry?
I didn't know what else I was going to do. I literally had no idea. I'm the first person from my family to go to college. They told me, go get a degree. Any degree, the world will be your oyster. So I get a degree in political science. I'm laden with all sorts of debt. And I realized that getting a degree in political science is not the means by which one creates a career. Unless, of course, you're living in Washington, D.C. or something like that. So out of necessity, I just started looking around me. Who did I know who was successful and how were they making their money? And everybody that I knew who was dressing beautifully, everybody that I knew who was driving a great car, they were all in real estate. So I thought, all right, well, you know what? Anybody seems to be able to get a real estate license. Let me give that a try.
Yeah.
And through dumb luck, I fell into it.
There you go. I think that the exterior look of success attracts a lot of people to real estate. So yes, you're in good company there. And to give our listeners some context, what was your transaction volume last year with you and your team?
Last year we did, I believe, 59 million, but this year is a very different year. So we've already written contracts totaling 62 million so far this year. We're on track to do somewhere between 75 and 80 million.
Amazing. A lot of growth. And what advice would you give to a real estate broker who might be hovering around 20 million? They have starting to build their team and they really want to level up. They want to go to 40, 50 million. What kind of advice would you give them?
Surround yourself with the best people that you possibly can. It's all about creating a really great team. And then it was probably about 7 or 8 years ago that I started working with a coach. And instead of having, at that point in time, 7 or 8 members of a team working toward that common goal individually, as a result of working with this coach, we became one team with one goal and we moved forward together. And the results have just been spectacular. I mean, that's really, I think, the biggest thing that we did that just put us right over the top.
That's fascinating. So what does that look like as far as an action item? I mean, are you doing weekly brainstorm sessions? Are your goals written on the wall? How are you all getting on the same page? It's difficult to get an entire team working towards one goal. So how's it done?
I think it's less that and more about focusing on the humanity of the person sitting across the table from you or at the desk next to you. And our philosophy is really all about family first. So during COVID, we made sure that the moms in particular just go home, take care of your kids, and we'll figure it out. And they were taking care of their kids and they were doing that. They were teaching their kids, they were taking care of their kids. And I wasn't hearing from them very often from 9 until 5. But boy, oh boy, 7 o'clock at night, Sunday night at 11:30, Thursday evenings, they were there and they were putting in the hours. And so we began to realize that if you're taking care of the people around you, they're going to put in the extra effort. So we have unlimited amount of days that they can take off during the course of the year. But they know that if they're taking off 3 weeks in the month of April, the busy time of the year, it's probably not going to go real well for the other members of the team. So we give a lot of free rein and we embrace those around us.
And you're discussing the relationship with your team members, right?
With my team members. This is all about team members.
Right. So the mothers that are real estate agents on your team. Yes. And allowing them a lot of flexibility in their time. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And throughout your journey in either real estate or business, what's been the most important single action that you've taken on a daily basis that has attributed most to your success?
I'm going to go back to my team again, making sure that the team is really well taken care of. But if you're taking really good care of your team, then you're going to have a group of individuals who genuinely care about the well-being of the client. And we play to the strengths of the member of the team. So if we're taking care of our employees are taken care of. And so we had one of our employees today, Cam, sat with an elderly couple They were in their early 80s, and he sat with them for 2.5 hours filling out listing documents. It's a 15 or a 20-minute process, but they were scared and they had a lot of concerns. If you're focused on the well-being of people in general, you're going to do well in this industry.
Great advice. It's all about relationships.
Yes, it is.
I'm curious then, a team that's growing towards that 80 million mark, what's your percentage of referral business to new business? Is it like 80, 20?
70% of our business is referral based.
Oh, wow. So do you have some systems in place that increase the amount of referrals that you get?
Well, it goes back to those relationships that you mentioned just a moment ago. So we keep in very, very, very close contact with our client base. So a few weeks ago, we took 250 of our clients to a baseball game. This coming November, we're going to deliver 1,100 or 1,200 pies to clients in the week before Thanksgiving. This past February, we gave out coffee mugs with a chocolate bomb. You pour hot water over the top and the bomb melts and you get a nice cup of hot chocolate. So just taking care of, we were looking forward, COVID's thrown a wrench at us a little bit. We used to get together with our clients a lot more socially. We've had to, as a result of COVID, find other means by which we can keep in touch with our clients. But we're looking forward to next year where we're going to go back to having big parties and picnics. You get a merry-go-round or a Ferris wheel and really just sort of over the top stuff. But if you're doing it frequently and throughout the year, your clients are going to think about you and they're grateful and they're appreciative and you develop a relationship and then they're going to refer their family and their friends.
Amazing. And speaking of COVID, where do you think the industry is heading? What are your 5-10 year projections? This pandemic has absolutely accelerated the adoption of technology for the industry. And I'm curious what your projections are. No one has a crystal ball, but
let me go back a few years. I got myself into trouble a few years ago because every journal article, every seminar that you went to, every book that you read was all about technology. And we focused so much on technology that we started losing track of the relationships with our clients. And so once we began to see the problems that we were having, we began to utilize technology as a tool, not as a crutch. And that was transformative. And so once we began contacting our clients again and really embracing them, that was transformative. So where are we headed? I think you're just going to see more and more technology, but I think that it's going to become increasingly difficult for the individual agent to break into the business. And I think the teams are just going to take over larger and larger and larger amounts of business. So my advice to somebody who's just starting in the business, see if you can find a great mentor, see if you can find a great team that you can join.
Got it. Yeah, that's good advice. And I do agree that technology that enhances the ability to leverage and develop relationships is the type of technology that one should be using, not technology that's meant to replace the relationship or automate the conversation or the negotiation. So with that being said, the local professional that has great customer service will always be in need, and I tend to agree with you there. So when it comes to lead generation, I'm curious if you have one source that's just amazing other than referrals. Of course, it's amazing to get a referral phone call from, your best client for his brother and it's a lay down sale. But for a lot of brokers that are attempting to get to that next level, they're interested in how they can spend their marketing dollars. And so I'm really curious if you have, a suggestion to that question, something that's worked really well for you.
I don't have one. So back to the notion that 78% of our business is referral based. That's only 22%. But when you look at our numbers at the end of the year, the business comes from also, so I sit on a lot of different boards. My partner sits on a lot of different boards. So we get a lot of relocation business as a result of the boards that we sit on, but also as a result of, I often think of myself as having two jobs. The first job, I sold real estate from 9 a.m. until 7:30 at night. The second job, 7 o'clock at night, 7:30 at night, I'm either attending a fundraiser or hosting a fundraiser. There's a cocktail party at the house or a dinner party at our place. We're going to be hosting up something at a Labor Day picnic, and there will be 200 people at that Labor Day. I think just relying on our network and our friends, that's the biggest source of referrals that we've got. So
it seems like events.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of events because you're face to face, you're in touch with people. So then we go back to, and it's sort of interesting because it really has evolved. It used to be all about sending out newsletters, and I used to do that 4, 5, 6 times a year to a growing database. But then we started to supplement that because it's expensive. We've cut down on that. We only do that twice a year. But now, every other week, I'm emailing a blog to about 63,000 local residents. That's gone very, very well. But then we added on top of that the podcast, which we record now every single week. And then the events that you mentioned. And we just actually hired a videographer. And we're going to be the first person locally to have a videographer who is going to capture these events and film our new listings and create video documentaries of the new listings. So we just keep adding and adding and adding. And you just never know where the business is going to come from.
Awesome. And, speaking about your listings and how you present them, I know in today's market with low inventory, it's pretty easy to sell a house, but, what are you doing to leverage digital marketing to, position your listings in the best light? You mentioned video. Are you running any video view campaigns on social media in order to expand the reach past your sphere? That's one example, but is there any type of digital strategy behind, how you're promoting your listings?
I think the greatest, so we do 3D tours of all of our listings, regardless of the price point. So if it's the average sale price of a home here in the Rochester region is about $180,000. So it doesn't matter whether it's a $150,000 listing or a $1 million listing, we're going to do the 3D tour, and people love those. And then we take those 3D tours and we very often will place them on social media. I've got 4,960 friends or thereabouts on Facebook. And then the team page has a lot of friends. And then I'm emailing to the 63,000 people every week or every other week. So just getting the information out there. And with technology, it's so inexpensive. Once you buy the email list, you've got the ability to distribute to a very, very large number of people very quickly and very inexpensively.
Yeah, it's true. I'm curious what you do for your clients that no one else does. And I ask this question because, there's some secret sauce in some of the just details or there's one thing that really makes your brand unique. So do you have anything like that you can, we're the only ones in the market that does this? Like, is there any claim to fame there?
I'm repeating myself, but I think it's the degree to which we reach out to our clients. So for 2 weeks from today, we've got 18 clients, 9 different couples that I'm going to be taking to dinner just to say thank you for a great transaction. And so rather than just giving them a gift certificate or a gift card, sometimes it's just that face-to-face, personal, one-on-one. But I think doing it over and over and over again. I think a good example would be maybe during COVID. We're all sitting around trying to figure out what the hell to do because we've got all this time. We don't know what to do. And so I started calling clients just to check in with them, just to find out how they're doing. And I was finding, as I was making 25, 30, 35 calls a week, that there were probably 3, 4, 5 clients every week who were in a really, really bad place emotionally. And so I started baking bread. And I would bring over a loaf of bread with a small card to these people. And sometimes it's not the big, grand, expensive gesture, like taking 250 people to a ball game. Sometimes it's really just baking a loaf of bread and writing a note or a card and then dropping it off to a client's house. Yeah.
And once again, going back to relationship building. And like you said, not to repeat yourself, but it seems like everything revolves around that.
Yes, everything. Technology is great because it helps me to keep it all organized, but it's not a crutch, and it can't be a crutch.
Right. So it's easy to see that you focus on relationships and experience success through that. But I'm curious about any failures along the way that really set you up for that later success. You mentioned in the past using technology as a crutch. Do you have like a favorite failure of yours, something that really just taught you a lesson or set you up for later success?
You know what? I'm constantly failing. I'm constantly falling on my face. But what's really nice is as you're growing, you had asked earlier what my advice would be to somebody who's selling 20 million and wants to grow to 40 or 50. Again, surround yourself with really great people, because as I fall on my face, if I make a mistake, I've empowered the people around me to tell me that. You've got to have people around you who are willing to say that you screwed up. And then you've got the ability to pick yourself up, look yourself in the mirror, and really look hard and question what did I do wrong, and what will I do not to repeat that or make that same mistake in the future. And again, I think the most glaring, it was just a couple of years ago when I did, as I said, rely on technology, and I wasn't making my phone calls and I wasn't reaching out because we had email that was doing all that. And I can't remember the name of the product, but there's this great product where you dial the phone number and you never speak to your client because you're always automatic. You're always connected to their voicemail. And I was using that a lot, and it was a great crutch, but we paid and we suffered.
Interesting. So in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
I think the process of growing older. And that may not be what you were looking for, but I think what I really enjoyed, and it's nothing that you have to really work at, but if you're working at yourself daily, and if you're exercising, and if you're focusing on your relationships with your family and your friends, and you focus on your business, and you're educating yourself and reading a lot of books, then the process of growing older will, because you gain wisdom as you grow older. And I am a far more calm person today than I was 5, and let alone 10 or 15 years ago. So I think just the process of growing older, embracing it, and knowing that you're going to be able to view things from a different perspective. I think it's not advice so much as it's an observation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you don't have to wait till you're older to focus on family and your body and health and relationships. It's available to everyone today. So it's a great learning lesson. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, you should definitely be focused on that as much and find the balance, because you've got to have a great partner. You got to have a great spouse, a great husband, a great wife who's willing to allow you to make the phone call or take the phone call in the middle of dinner. Yes, you need to carve out time for your family, but boy, there are a lot of intrusions in this industry, and we all know it. And so you got to find the right spouse.
Yep, absolutely. And talking about intrusions and different choices that we need to make on a daily basis, what's your process for evaluating what to say no to?
It's more of a gut feeling. Erin, one of the members of my team, she and I were on a listing appointment 3 weeks ago, and and we hardly ever do this, just a very, very difficult prospective seller. And we weren't interested in working with that individual. And it was really just a gut feeling. We did not want all the time wasted working with that one individual, time that we knew that we would be taking away from the other clients whose company we enjoyed. So I think it's really more gut than anything. Otherwise, I think that my team, I'm always and forever trying new ideas. And I think it's my team who forces me to say no with some frequency, because they want to focus on absorbing the latest technology or the latest process. And if left to my own devices, we'd always and forever have something new that we'd be trying. So,
Yep. And that is a tough thing to conquer, is that shiny object syndrome.
Yes, indeed. So,
what are some bad recommendations you hear given to other real estate professionals?
I think one of the worst is when agents are starting brand new. I think that brokers so often are interested in hiring as many new prospective bodies as they can, that they're not honest with them about what the failure rate is or what it is that one needs to do. So I sit down with somebody, I would imagine every 4 to 6 weeks throughout the course of the year, I'm sitting down with somebody who wants to become a real estate agent and they want advice. And I'd say that 80 to 90% of the time, I tell people not to bother, because they just don't seem to be cut from the right cloth. They don't have a large enough database, or they don't seem to have the spark, and I don't think that brokers are honest enough with new agents in general. So I think just the more direct and honest, and it's not meant to be unkind, it's just the opposite. It's meant to be respectful of whomever it is that you're having a conversation with, because if they're not going to make it, better to find out today before they spend several $1,000s getting their license, signing on with a brokerage, and then the loss of income that occurs over a 2-year period of time before they eventually walk away from the industry in debt. So,
yeah, no, great tip. I mean, so easy, like we talked about at the very beginning, to look at real estate like this money printing machine. And I feel like when anyone is getting into some new industry, it seems like the grass is greener from what they're doing right now. This is going to be so much easier, faster, better, going to make more money, put in less effort, put in less time. And then you make the leap, which probably a part of that is good for the human condition, because it gets us over the fear and we can then make the leap to do this new thing. But with that as a double-edged sword, because when you're looking at everything through a rose-colored pair of glasses, and then you get into the industry and realize it's way more work than you thought, it costs way more money, it takes way more time, then it can set you up for failure. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. Just be honest with people. Be really direct. So,
yeah. Well, I'm curious if you have any quotes that you live by.
No quotes that I live by. No. But I do. That's a great question. But I do ask myself, and it's a variation on the theme. There's a local grocery store that I think has some renown. It's Wegmans. Have you heard of Wegmans? Probably not.
No. They don't have them out here.
Wegmans is one of these like cult grocery stores. There are 100 of them throughout the Northeast, and they continue to grow, and they're privately owned. So a buddy of mine, Danny, owns this chain of grocery stores, and they're known for their customer service. And so whenever it is that I've got a problem or I'm at a crossroads or there's a decision that's important, I always ask myself, what would Danny do? Because inevitably, whatever it is that he would end up doing, it's the right answer. And so I asked myself that question. And then I got a dear friend, her name is Lauren. She owns a local ad agency with 100 some employees. And she's also very, very focused on growing her business. And she's always one of the top 10 companies to work for in the United States, that kind of thing. And I always ask myself, what would Lauren do? And I think about what they would do, and I come to the right answer. And I'm always grateful for asking myself that question. So no quotes that I'm living by, but definitely an exercise that I run through in my mind. So
yeah, no, that's a great exercise. I'm curious if you have any book recommendations, like 1 to 3 books that have greatly influenced your life or career.
Oh, God. So Delivering Happiness is really one of my, have you read that? I mean, you must have read it.
No, I have not.
Oh my God. I'm going to send you a copy.
Awesome.
It's probably the best business book. So it's the guy who founded Zappos shoes. And every year, usually in the month of August, I would fly down to Costa Rica for a 1-week yoga retreat. Just go by myself, clear my head after the spring market, and I would read 3-4 books and then come back. And then I would always choose one that my team and I would read. And that one was probably the most beloved of the books that they've read. And it really just talks about creating great customer service. And I've read that and I've reread it several times because it's just so great. There's Phil Knight's biography. Bob Iger from Disney just put out his biography or his memoirs a while ago. That was really great. I like Branson's books, his biographies, Richard Branson's. I think they've been really good. And then I can't remember Peak. Peak is also really a great book. And it talks about Maslow's pyramid hierarchy of needs. And on the base of that pyramid, are the base needs that we all need as human beings. You need shelter, and you need food, and you need water, and you need to be protected. And then the layer above that is, well, maybe you'd actually like a blanket or a bed in which to, and you go up the pyramid. And when you get to the top of the pyramid, these iconic businesses and companies like a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons Hotel, they get to the point in terms of the service that they're providing that they take you up to the top of the pyramid and they are providing you experiences and needs that you didn't even realize or recognize that you might have. And so they're surprising you with great service when you go to and stay at some of these hotels. And so that's a really great one in terms of trying to provide great service for your customers. So again, I guess I'm drawn to, this whole notion of customer service. So
awesome. Yeah, those are some great recommendations. First,
what's yours? I got to ask. I got to turn the table here.
I would highly suggest Psycho-Cybernetics for anyone that hasn't read it. It's the perception of a plastic surgeon on the importance of self-image. Because he realized that he could fix someone's facial deformity or complete a nose job, but if they hadn't worked on their psychology and their internal self-image, they would look in the mirror and still see the crooked nose. So they would look in the mirror and they would still see, the deformity on their face. And so it talks about the importance of self-image, and the applicability in business is massive, because if you have a ceiling above you that you've set for yourself, it's kind of like Tony Robbins says, it's a thermometer. You set the thermostat to 72, meaning, 72,000 a year, that's what you're comfortable making. And then one year you break it and go to 80. Well, your thermostat will bring you back down to 72. So you got to break through those self-limiting beliefs. And Psycho-Cybernetics is a great personal development book. It's one of the ones that's been around since like the 50s, Wow. So classic, and highly recommend it.
That sounds great. I'm reading right now Atomic Habits. That's a really great one.
Habit stacking, right?
Yeah. So that's great. And actually, I just read when I talked earlier about, because I've started to change the culture of the team where we don't have a set number of days that one can take. And my staff, if there's a problem, they have the ability to just spend $1,000 taking care of whatever problem it is. They don't need to ask me for it. And that's all as a result of Reed Hastings' book that he wrote last year, I think, on the culture of Netflix. And so that one's another good one. So there's always something there's a lot of good stuff out there. Just got to weed through it.
There is. And that's why I asked that question. Great recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. And, do you have a single investment that was just amazing? Like, what's one of the best investments you've ever made? And it can actually be non-monetary, but it could be something monetary. Like this, there's this duplex that just whatever it is. I'm curious.
I'm going to bifurcate the answer into two sections. One is the obvious. I own a lot of rental property. So I think that each and every rental property is just a great investment, because even if you've made a mistake, if you hold on to it for a long enough period of time, time heals all wounds. So I think just, if you're in the business of helping people buy and sell real estate, you're an expert, you should invest in your expertise. So that's great. But the non-monetary response is, I think the best investment that I've made was the coach that I mentioned earlier, who took 7 or 8 disparate individuals who are all working toward a goal and created a team who were all working toward a goal. And I've hired him on several occasions. And I think it's a huge benefit to have a really, really great coach. And this isn't a real estate coach, because I haven't had much luck or success with real estate coaches. Perhaps I've just hired the wrong real estate coaches, but I haven't been impressed with those that I've met. But this was just a general business coach. And the way that I actually found him was I just started dialing the phone locally, and I called 20 friends who were presidents or CEOs of companies. And I asked how many of them had worked with coaches. And I think the number was 16 of them had worked with coaches. And this one guy, Jim Mahan, his name came up as a recommendation for 3 or 4 people. And boom, I called. We've worked together several times, and that was a great investment.
Wow. That's an awesome recommendation. Yeah.
Have you worked with a coach?
Many.
And have you had good luck with them?
Yes. Yeah. Coaching to me is second nature, because I played sports growing up. So it just makes sense to have a coach if you want to get better at something. Tiger Woods, arguably the best golfer in the world for a very long period of time, he had a coach, right? Yeah. It's like, you don't get to these levels without it. And the way I look at it is, you can work on yourself to a certain degree. You can read books, you can focus, you can meditate, you can pray, you can do the things. But until you have somebody who you look up to holding you accountable, you'll never really achieve your full potential. So
I absolutely agree. Yeah. Look at the Olympics. We're in the middle of Olympic season right now. There's not a member of any Olympic team that isn't currently working with a coach. Simone Biles, the greatest of all time, she's got her coach standing right next to her. So actually, that's one of the things I'm working at right now, is to try and find my next coach. And I'm actually looking for, this time around, a real estate coach. And I'm hoping that I might have some better luck or success.
Nice. Well, I might have a recommendation for you on that. I know a phenomenal one. And with that being said, I have a question for you that is about overwhelm, being unfocused, because it's so easy in this world to be unfocused or overwhelmed, or, gosh, you have a million things going on, and then your phone rings, and then this and that. So what question do you ask yourself when you're in that state to get back on track?
I wish that I had a better answer for you. I was so evolved that I could answer the question and say, here's the question. But I will tell you that in the moment, I'm not good at that. But in general, the practice of yoga. So I just had rotator cuff surgery 2 weeks ago, and I haven't actually been practicing yoga for the past 6 months. And so I'm finding it difficult, because yoga brought a calm and a tranquility and a centering that I really found incredibly helpul when you're being inundated from all sides with phone calls and text messages and emails and requests on the part of buyers and sellers and staff. So I've got to get back to my yoga practice, but I've also, and it's one of these things that I've procrastinated on, but I really do need to commit to a meditation practice so that I can actually, so the next time you ask me that question, I actually have a better answer.
Well, I think it's common. Yoga is something that I discovered pretty early in life, just growing up in California. I have 3 sisters. They were doing yoga. And so in high school, I went to a couple classes, and I ended up loving it. So I don't practice as much as I should and would like to, but it is immensely helpful for that overall feeling of calm, just not letting things get under your skin, and just having such a centered outlook on the world. And it's so amazing for getting in touch with what's really important. So yeah, that was a reminder for me. So thanks for sharing that. Like, maybe I should start doing yoga again.
Yeah. I've been told, unfortunately, that I will never practice yoga in the way that I have up until now. So I'm going to have to modify, but I'm still going to get into the studio 6 months from now. And, even if it's a less aggressive form of yoga, I'm really looking forward to it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, is there a question that I should have asked you, or anything that you'd like to elaborate on from earlier?
No, There is one thing that we didn't touch on that I think is important, and that's the notion of philanthropy. And I've got to say, I come from very, very modest means. My dad was a cop. I think I may have mentioned, maybe I didn't, in the city of Buffalo. 5 of us grew up on a 900 square foot ranch. And as I started to make a little bit of money and have a little bit of success, I started to give back to the community in a very, very modest way. And it's one of these odd paradoxes, but the more that you give back, and I know I sound like a Hallmark card or something, but the more that you give back, the more that you enjoy in return. So we are constantly chairing fundraisers and we're constantly attending fundraisers. And I would say that 52 weeks out of the year, we probably 12 Saturday nights out of the year, we are at a fundraiser and we give back, significantly to the community. But you know what ends up happening? People end up looking to you. Actually, there's a local cancer center in town. I chaired a fundraiser 2 years ago for Gilded Club, the local Gilded Club. And we now receive an inordinate number of referrals from doctors who are moving into Rochester from outside of the area, who are starting in the oncology center that I just referenced. And that's because 2 years ago, and I didn't do it for any other reason other than it was the right thing to do. 2 years ago, we went ahead, we chaired this event, and now we get all those docs as referrals. And so if you do have a little bit of money, I do think that with success comes responsibility. You should give back, but you'll end up finding out that, my God, you will reap a bounty in return. So,
yeah, great suggestion and very true. It really is true that the amount that you give back is returned to you tenfold.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah. So I mean, people slap you on the back, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how generous you are." And then, but I always turn as like, "But you have no idea." And again, I know I sound like a Hallmark card. You have no idea how much I enjoy in return. So anyway,
right. How can listeners contact you?
Probably, let's see, my website. It's marksiwiec.com. So I've been saddled with a name that is not particularly easy to pronounce or spell, but it's marksiwiec.com, marksiwiec, or on my phone number, 585-330-8750.
Awesome. You've been very generous. Mark Siwiec, everyone. Top real estate broker and just an overall awesome human. I think you touched on some great things and giving back, getting your entire team tied into the same goal, treating them like humans with respect, letting them have infinite time off if they need it, and really just creating an awesome place to work up there in the Northeast. So thank you so much for being on the show. I think that my listeners got a lot of value from this episode.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Continued success. And I look forward to seeing how your world is going to grow. And I have a feeling this is just the beginning for you. So keep going, bud. And thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you for listening. If you want to accomplish your real estate goals, then I highly suggest downloading my free Ultimate Real Estate Goal Setting Framework. The link is in the description of the show, and it will help you break down your annual income goal into the amount of phone calls, appointments, or open houses you need in order to achieve that goal. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.